Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho. It is a brand new month coming to you on this first day of September, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. Classes and government work are suspended in several areas of the country today due to the threat of heavy rainfall. At the same time, Pag-asa is keeping a watch on a low-pressure area within the Philippine Area of Responsibility, which is said to have a small chance of intensifying into a tropical depression. Amid ongoing controversies involving flood control projects, President Bongbong Marcos has accepted Public Works Secretary Manuel Bonoan's resignation. And to lead an anti-corruption drive within the agency, Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon has been designated as the acting DPWH Secretary. And a warning has been issued by House Deputy Speaker Ronnie Puno regarding what he describes as a new wave of ghost projects in the 2026 budget proposal. Puno also endorses lifestyle checks on officials, provided they are backed by in-depth probes and lead to the filing of charges. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda. DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla has announced the suspension of classes at all levels, both public and private, as well as government work on Monday, September 1, due to inclement weather. The suspension applies to the following areas, that's Metro Manila, Cavite, Bulacan, Laguna, Quezon, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Albay, Catanduanes, Sorsogon, Masbate, Northern Samar, Occidental Mindoro, Antique, Negros Occidental, Pampanga, and Rizal. Pag-asa continues to monitor a low-pressure area inside the Philippine Area of Responsibility. It was last spotted 570 kilometers east-northeast of Verac, Catanduanes, or 695 kilometers east of Daet, Camarines Norte, and has a low chance of developing into a tropical depression within the next 24 hours. Meanwhile, the southwest monsoon or habagat is also affecting parts of the country. Metro Manila, Visayas, Mimaropa, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, the Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao, and Caraga may experience scattered rains and thunderstorms. Heavy rains from a low-pressure area in the southwest monsoon have triggered massive flooding in Metro Manila and other areas last weekend. Here's the report.
From 2 to 3 in the afternoon on Saturday, heavy downpour battered large parts of Quezon City. On Araneta Avenue, vehicles were submerged in floodwaters. Even the person taking this video had to climb onto the roof of his car to avoid being trapped by rising waters. Flooding was also severe along Mother Ignacia Avenue, while in Loyola Heights, senior citizens had to be evacuated using barrels and basins. At UP Diliman, the so-called sunken garden literally went underwater. According to the Quezon City LGU, the rainfall on Saturday surpassed levels recorded during Typhoon Ondoy in 2009. The peak hourly rainfall reached 121 milliliters, far higher than Ondoy's 90 milliliters.
Yung pagbiglaan na paglakas ng ulan yesterday, phenomenal talaga yung 141 millimeters yung measurement ng rainfall, na ang peak intensity lang ng Quezon City is 121. Pag i-compare mo talaga sa Ondoy, mas malakas siya. At parang 5 araw na ulan ang bumuhos kahapon sa short span of time.
As a result, 36 out of more than 140 barangays in Quezon City were hit by flooding. At Ulahan River in North Fairview, retaining walls crumbled, flooding nearby homes. A newly built flood control project near Commonwealth was destroyed by the deluge. Mayor Joy Belmonte earlier expressed frustration over hundreds of flood control projects in Quezon City, some divided into dozens of phases.
Ang pinakamalala, may mga proyektong hinati sa napakaraming phases. Meron pa ngang umabot ng 66 phases. Ano po ba ito? Isang pako kada taon?
Kung anong feeling ko, nasasayangan sobra. Feeling ko, bilyon ang nasasayang na pera ng bayan dito. There was really that real political will to resolve flooding. I believe that this amount that has been wasted would already have been sufficient towards addressing this problem.
Flooding also hit several areas outside Metro Manila. Floodwaters were seen in Biliran province due to non-stop rains. In Naval, Barangay Sabang and Larazabal were submerged, prompting Mayor Gretchen Espina to order preemptive evacuation of residents in flood-prone areas. In Leyte, the towns of San Isidro and Vilaba were also flooded following heavy rain since Friday. Residents remain on standby for possible evacuation should waters continue to rise.
President Bongbong Marcos has accepted the resignation of Public Works Secretary Manuel Bonoan amid controversy over flood control projects. Bonoan stepped down after rejecting earlier calls for him to resign, saying it was not the right way to resolve the issues. In his letter, he expressed support for the president's push for accountability and reform. Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon has been appointed acting DPWH chief to lead an anti-corruption drive. Undersecretary Giovanni Lopez will take over as acting DOTR secretary. Some lawmakers welcomed Dizon's appointment, though they noted the immense challenge of restoring public trust in the DPWH. Moving on over to our top story for today, that is the weather, of course. Let's now talk to Pag-asa for some updates. We have weather specialist Charmaine Barilla joining us this morning. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Charmaine.
Yes, magandang umaga po ma'am at sa lahat po ng ating mga tagapakinig at narito nga pong ulat sa lagay ng panahon ngayong umaga ng Lunes. Kaninang alas 3 nga ng umaga ay huling namataan ng low pressure area sa layong 570 kilometers east-northeast ng Virac, Catanduanes o sa layong 695 kilometers silangan pa rin ng Daet, Camarines Norte. Ang nasabing low pressure area ay nanatili pa rin na mababa ang tsansa na maging isang ganap na bagyo at patuloy na kumikilos pahilagang kanluran dito sa may karagatan ng Pilipinas. Samantalang patuloy pa rin itong nagdadala ng mga pagulan ngayong araw dito ngayon sa may Bicol Region, Aurora, Bulacan, Quezon at Rizal at inaasahan nga na yung mga pagulan na may taas mula 50 hanggang 100 mm ay maaaring makaapekto ngayon sa Quezon, Camarines Norte at Camarines Sur dahil nga dito sa nasabing low pressure area. Samantalang southwest monsoon naman o hanging habagat ang siyang nakakaapekto pa rin dito sa may kanlurang bahagi ng Central at Southern Luzon, Visayas at Northern sections ng Mindanao. At ito nga ngayong araw ay magbibigay din ng 50 to 100 millimeters dito sa may Palawan, Antique at Occidental Mindoro. Sa ngayon, meron din tayo nakataas na rainfall advisory dito ngayon sa may Metro Manila, Cavite at maging gayon din sa may Rizal, iba pang bahagi ng Bulacan, Laguna, Quezon, Nueva Ecija at mga kalapit pa na lugar. Kaya muli, patuloy nating inaabiso ng ating mga kababayan ng pag-iingat lalong-lalo na sa mga pag-ulan na maaaring magdulot ng pagbaha at pagguho ng lupa. At yan po ang ating latest mula dito sa Pag-asa Weather Forecasting Center. Charmaine Barilla, nag-uulat.
Charmaine, nabanggit mo kanina no, na maaaring umabot ng 150 millimeters yung rainfall.
Actually, 50 to 100 po, ma'am.
Oo. Hindi ba 150 dun sa Quezon, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur. Okay. Ano ang tsansa kaya na magbabaha muli katulad nung nangyari sa Quezon City nung weekend na dito low pressure area o habagat lang din. Actually localized thunderstorm pala yung nangyari dito sa Quezon City. Ano kaya yung tsansa na maaari nating makita yung ganitong eksena na matinding pagbaha sa ating mga kalsada?
For this week, ma'am, ngayon ay hindi po natin nakikita na meron pong maging ganun uli kalakas na pag-ulan kasi yung naging ulan po nun ay almost 100 millimeters sa loob lamang ng isang araw or isang oras rather. So kung i-imagine po natin kung ganun kalakas tapos biglaan po yung pagbagsak niya sa lalong-lalo na sa mga syudad, alam naman po natin na wala masyadong mga open space na kalupaan dito, more on mga semento, so wala masyado mag-absorb ng mga excessive na tubig. Tapos kung hindi po kaya i-contain ng drainage natin, yan po talaga nagkakos ng pagbaha. So ngayon, hindi natin nakikita based sa ating mga models na meron magiging ganong kalakas na ulan. Although, meron pa rin tayong mga inaasahan na possible localized floodings kasi po tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung mga pag-ulan. So, lalong-lalo na kung tataas yung mga katubigan natin sa may ilog or meron yung mga areas natin na wala masyadong magandang drainage. So, yun po yung mga nakikita natin. Pero, Kung ganong cause na mapagulan dahil sa matinding thunderstorm ay hindi po natin nakikita within this week.
Charmaine, monitor nyo rin po ba yung ganitong klaseng localized thunderstorm? Or is it too isolated or too very much specific? Yung po ba ay napredict po ng pag-asa, yung nangyari over the weekend?
Yes, actually, meron po tayong mga initial na thunderstorm advisory. Yung mga ganito po kasi ng mga localized talaga, kung napapansin po natin, hindi natin siya in-include sa weather advisory kasi unang-una, ang criteria po natin sa weather advisory ay dapat malawakan ng mga pag-ulan, which is, so nakita nga natin, hindi malawakan kasi more on dito lang sa Quezon City yung naapektuhan. Tapos ikalawang criteria po kasi sa pag-i-issue natin ng weather advisory, dapat po sustained yung mga pag-ulan at consistent yung mga pinapakita ng model. So, hindi nga natin din nakita na naging sustained. Kumbaga, yung isang oras po yun lang. So, parang kung isama siya sa weather advisory, masyadong overestimate. Kaya ang ginawa po ng pag-asa ay nag-issue po tayo ng thunderstorm advisory. At kung nakita naman natin ay yung pag-subside nga ng tubig mabilis nga lang din kasi yung ganong ulan hindi sustained.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay, maraming salamat po sa pagpapaliwanag. It's good to know that we won't be facing the same kind of intense rainfall, though there will be some localized flooding as Charmaine has mentioned. So mag-ingat po tayong lahat and we better watch out not just for tropical depressions and typhoons but also for localized thunderstorms as is the learning over the weekend. Maraming salamat for joining us. We have Pag-asa weather specialist Charmaine Varilla. Up next, House Deputy Speaker Ronnie Puno is sounding the alarm on potential ghost projects in the proposed 2026 budget. And we'll discuss that matter with Congressman Puno himself when Morning Matters returns after a quick break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho here in Morning Matters. We talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. House Deputy Speaker Ronnie Puno is sounding the alarm over what he calls a new wave of ghost projects in the proposed 2026 budget. In a press conference, Puno revealed that key flood control projects for Antipolo have suddenly disappeared from the National Expenditure Program submitted by the DPWH. He said these were priority projects meant to address flooding in several barangays. To curb corruption, Puno is calling for a complete overhaul of the DPWH, and the Deputy Speaker is also backing lifestyle checks on government officials, stressing that they must result in real cases and be supported by deeper investigations.
Yung baha sa amin, yung barangay Mayamot, Munting Dilaw, at saka Mambugan, hindi ba? Oh. Ngayon, maniwala kayo, lahat ng projects doon, nawala. Priority namin yun eh. So parang tumama sila sa loto bigla. Hindi ba? Kasi wala nang kailangan gawin na proyekto pero lumanding na naman yung budget sa kanila.
And to talk more about this issue, we are joined this morning by House Deputy Speaker Ronnie Puno. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Congressman, ito nga pong pag-usapan po natin itong mga projects na nababanggit po ninyo sa inyong distrito. What happened to them? How did they suddenly disappear?
You know, that's what we are launching an investigation to find out. Those projects are actually initially recommended by the district engineer. We have a master plan for the flood program in our area. Our area includes Marikina, Cainta, Taytay specifically, no? And Antipolo City. So there are a string of projects that have to be done in coordination with one another. If you remove some of them, then all the other projects that are in that program are going to be, not useless, but they're not going to be effective because you need to force the water to go downstream in an orderly fashion to land in a major river like the Marikina River that can contain all the water that is flowing down. What happened to my National Expenditure Program component was the projects that were leading to the Marikina River and was going to remove the flooding from essentially a lot of places in 3 of our barangays disappeared. And in their place, I saw projects that had nothing to do with our flood control master plan. So, that alarmed me, nagulat kami lahat. And we started talking about it. And then all of these other reports from the different other districts in our political party surfaced. So, I felt obligated, and everybody was asking me to speak about this. And apparently, when we got to a party leaders meeting and discussed this, apparently it was a nationwide problem. And it was a system-wide problem. Like everybody's national expenditure program was mangled pretty much. So that's why we we asked for this investigation.
When the district engineer comes up with projects to recommend, who do they submit those list of projects to?
They submitted. Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
They submitted to the region. So I also got copies of what was submitted by the region to the central office. The difference between the regional and the district submissions were, I think explainable. There are some details that the region sometimes wants to fine-tune, and they tweak it a little bit, no? But after the region, from the region to my desk, that's where the world of difference occurred. So I'm suspecting that the serious mangling of these budgets happened in the central office and maybe in the DBM. So we need to find out exactly what happened to these things. Now, you're correct in assuming there is a very, very clear paper trail to all of this. So this is what we're going to try to find out, to follow.
Okay, so you're looking at both the regional and the central offices of the DPWH.
Mainly the central, no? Kasi at least in our region, and at least for the districts covered by the region in my area, no? Because from the district to the region in our flood area, there wasn't a lot of difference. From the region to the central office, again, there wasn't a lot of difference.
Okay.
But when it got to the central office, somewhere between the central office of the DPWH and the DBM and thereafter, that's where all of the problems, I think, came in.
Pwede po malaman kung magkano po yung total ng budget nung mga nawala pong proyekto? Kasi we were talking about it with former DPWH Secretary Singson at sabi po niya above 150 million, parang this gets transferred or transmitted to the central office and they would have oversight over the bigger projects. So magkano ho yung project po ninyo na nawala?
No, 150 above that goes to the region. Okay.
And
then I think about 800 goes to the central office.
Okay.
So, I think they probably change these numbers often. No? And then, the projects that were in my listing totaled maybe, the ones that were removed were about 400 million, thereabouts. The district budget was about 1.2 billion last year. It was reduced to 880 this year. So we got already, to begin with, we already got a large budget reduction, which is fine, as long as the main work that was necessary to solve our flood problems was not affected. And I think in the study done by the district and then subsequently by the region, okay naman. I mean, syempre it would have been better if they had retained the budget of last year. But it's fine that at least they addressed the main concerns. What is really, very, very saddening and demoralizing is after that, nabawasan na nga, mahigit kalahati doon, naligaw pa. And then they put in projects that had nothing to do with the master plan. So it's alarming. And it's really shocking, for us because parang wala kaming pinag-aralan. It's as if we studied nothing. And all the projects that came out in our budget had no basis either in study or in reality.
Congressman, ano po yung mga ipinalit na mga programa po doon sa flood control projects?
Iba-iba eh. If I remember right, there were also some, flood control projects, but it wasn't in the master plan lineup that we put in, ano. And then there were, I think, repair of some roads and construction of roads. So different talaga, and nobody asked for those things eh. Nobody them, you know. So why are they there if nobody requested them in the official process?
This is actually something new for me this morning, because usually the congressmen are the ones who get blamed for the insertions. But this is another angle to it. It could probably be happening in the central office of the DPWH. But of course, this doesn't absolve our congressmen fully, right? But how much accountability do you think Congress has with regard to oversight of these budgets? Like you are raising issues now, which I think should be done by every congressman with his own budget. But is that being done? I mean, to your knowledge, kamusta po ang ang kalakaran po pagdating po sa ganyan? Tinitignan po ba or how much responsibility should be placed on the shoulders of our congressmen who push for these budgets?
Una sa insertion, insertions do not happen in the main budget consideration because the budget begins from the district to begin with and then the district engineer talks to us, talks to the barangays, talks to City Hall and everybody in the local level. So all the projects that he will list, if it is part of their, and usually part of their DPWH master plan, that's already discussed with us. So hindi na kami why would we insert something if we're the ones that propose it in the first place, di ba? So the insertions come in kasi at the end of the process in the bicameral. And the ones that do insertions normally, chase after it there because they were not able to bring it in the main budget process, in the general appropriations bill that the Congress is able to send to the Senate. That's why you need to put insertions kasi baka may nakalimutan, baka may hindi nakitang kailangan. Ang problema talagang medyo naabuso na pagdating doon. Now, your point on oversight. Kami congressmen, every time may baha, there's a line of people outside my door complaining, no? So of course we have to look at the projects that are being implemented. In my case, we post all of the projects in the bulletin board in my district office. Everybody can see what are intended to be done in the coming year. So the barangays, the people that live there, they all know that the project is going to happen there. Of course, they look into it, which obligates us now to also go to the place and look at what's happening there because, how are we going to discuss the thing if hindi naman namin nakita? And I think pareho yan sa lahat ng mga kongresista sa lahat ng mga representatives, no? You have to go and look at the projects and that is the oversight. Ngayon, kung wala dyan, obviously we will complain, di ba? Ang problema is if the project is done by the national office, no, who will we complain to? The district engineer? He does not even know what's happening there. Kasi nga, they are not the ones implementing the project. And normally, these are given to contractors, no? Hindi niya papansinin yung district engineer. Siyempre, dun siya pupunta sa nagkontrata sa kanya. So, those projects are the ones that really, I think, often become problems. Kasi kung sa district engineer lang yan, talaga mapupulis namin siya. But, when we don't even know who we're supposed to talk to, then they'll point you to the central office. I mean, it's not easy to talk to the big shots there. People cannot just readily get appointments with them. So how do you oversee those things? Problema talaga.
But I guess the question is, how much room do you have now to bring back the original plan that was part of the master plan? Knowing that this is already in the NEP, it has been submitted, it's up for debate. Kamusta po yun? Do we have room to put the original plan back?
Adjust it. To fix it, I believe so, no? Because at least we caught it earlier. Kung hindi
Okay.
namin nakita to, because Gretchen, it's the, there are thousands of projects in the National Expenditure Program. It is a real tedious exercise trying to go to each one. In my own district lang, it takes me, a long time going over the budget back and forth just to be able to identify, relate the number there on the paper to the project that I know needs to be done. No? So, but what happened now is I think we had a leadership meeting in the Congress, and it was decided to recommend to the president and the DBM that we be allowed to amend all of these things, correct all of these things. No? So there's a process now ongoing where congressmen are going to be allowed to modify things. For example, a very good example. If you have a flood control project in your district, it has to comply with a study that is done on flood control areas in the Philippines. No, there is a study done in the UP by it's called the NOAA study. No, which plots all the flood prone areas in the country. It classifies them into severe danger, pula, moderate danger, yellow, and then the safe areas. If your project is not situated in the red area, it will automatically be removed. Okay? So, for example, yung mga siningit sa akin na project na wala naman dun sa red area, tatanggalin namin. So, it's now data-based. It is a very, very scientific basis of, locating now all of the flood projects. And what will happen here, I think, is of the more or less 300 billion that is possible to be allocated to flood control projects. At least a third of that will be able to be reallocated to health, to education, and so on. No? Which is a great development. Kasi ang daming flood control projects, nandun naman sa safe areas na wala namang baha.
But Congressman, we do know that you already mentioned that this process, the whole process, is prone to abuse from different sides, right? But the DPWH has also complained that some insertions naman from the legislators did not even go through the proper technical or scientific studies. So how would you improve this process para we stay faithful to the mandate of the Infrastructure Department?
Tama yan, because when the insertions come in, the DPWH on the district level and regional level, they have to restudy everything. It takes them a month just to adjust whatever work programs they have in their offices to what was amended or inserted. Now, so again, where do the insertions happen? No? It happens usually in the bicameral conference committee. So what the House of Representatives and our Speaker suggested was, let's make that open to the public, kasi that's where last year's budget really got into trouble, when the bicameral committee was even reduced into a small committee, and the small committee I think ended up with just two people talking, no? So now it's going to be open to the public. You, members of the press, will be allowed to view this thing, no? So all of that last minute work is going to disappear, and all the standards that are required of the budget will then need to be applied, and they cannot avoid applying it even to the smallest committee that is studying it. Kasi what happened in the previous year is when it already got to the small committee, they just disregarded everything that had already been prepared, all the work that had been done in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, all the work of the Public Works, tinanggal na yan. And then they just listed down whatever they wanted to list down. It was crazy. So I think that's coming to light now, and it's I hope that all the people responsible for this are going to be held to account. No, we are in the middle. We just started our budget process. We're seeing the same thing happen again. No. This cannot be allowed to happen. I think that one reason why I'm calling for an investigation about all of these things is because I believe that the entire budget process should be confined to people with clean hands. No, nobody with dirty fingers and dirty intentions and dirty plans, should be allowed to be in the process. If they are there, they should be removed, right away, before we even go to sending our general appropriations bill from the House of Representatives to the Senate. I hope everybody that is suspect, that has been party to any of the previous problems here, should be removed from the process.
Well, Congressman, speaking of getting the right people and their hands on this budget, we have a new DPWH secretary, that's Vince Dizon, yet he has been described as Mr. Low-hanging fruit. Very good with optics, but effectiveness remains to be seen. What is your opinion on him? What would he have to do to restore the people's trust in the DPWH?
Well, I think let's wait to see what he's going to be doing. No, he has a really difficult task in front of him, because he has been directed by the president to do a sweeping reorganization of public works. No, now if he will get unsolicited advice from me, my unsolicited advice would be to kick everybody out. No. I mean, remove everybody, undersecretaries, assistant secretaries. Sorry, no, I know I'm hitting a lot of people here. But how else do you solve this problem? Now, regional directors, I think maybe they should be reviewed, but most of them, I think, are competent and are true to their duties. District engineers, they're at the bottom of the totem pole. Most of the time, they're accountable to their local officials. So they are probably, a good force to work with. So I hope that Secretary Dizon will work with the people that are actually, even under the current environment, accountable for everything that they do. Those people that are accountable to no one should really go. Okay, and I think because he has worked in the past with the administration of President Duterte as Secretary of the flagship projects, he was the one in charge of the distribution of vaccines during COVID. He can earn the confidence of people from both sides of the political spectrum. No? So he's now Secretary of Transportation. So he can maybe bridge, the Duterte areas with the non-Duterte or the now administration and Ferdinand Marcos areas. And that's important also because you're seeing now that a lot of the charges and counter charges and whatever, they always wander into a political dispute there. So public works should be above that, because public works is something that the people really need on a daily basis.
Correct. Oh, he has about 3 years to make those sweeping changes. And in the meantime, maraming salamat. Thank you for laying that down for us and all that we have to dissect. Of course, the Blue Ribbon Committee hearing on flood control projects will begin today. And of course, you have initiated your own in Congress. We await the results of that. In the meantime, maraming salamat po. We have House Deputy Speaker Ronnie Puno joining us this morning.
Thank you.
As you mentioned, the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee will resume its probe today into alleged anomalies in flood control projects. Senators are expected to grill several contractors who earlier skipped the investigation. This comes after Senate President Francis Escudero signed subpoenas compelling their attendance. Now, among those ordered to appear are officials from Alpha and Omega, St. Timothy, and Wow Builders, among others. The inquiry seeks to determine why only a handful of contractors have cornered most projects, despite reports of ghost or substandard work. And coming right up, the Department of Justice has placed gambling tycoon Atong Ang, actress Gretchen Barreto, and over 50 others on an immigration lookout bulletin order. Stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back after a short break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Justice Department has issued an immigration lookout bulletin order against gambling tycoon Atong Ang, actress Gretchen Barreto, and more than 50 others. The order comes as they face preliminary investigation for murder and illegal detention over the disappearance of cockfight enthusiasts or sabongeros. DOJ Secretary Boying Remulla confirmed the bulletin, citing whistleblower Totoy Patidongan, who tagged Ang as the alleged mastermind. Patidongan also linked Barreto and members of Ang's so-called Alpha Group to the killings. The agency said there is sufficient ground to proceed with a formal investigation, with subpoenas expected to be issued this week. Meanwhile, Quezon City 4th District Representative Bong Suntay is questioning the government's campaign against illegal sabong, saying website shutdowns are not enough without arrests of operators. But other than that, persistent problems such as flooding continue to plague his district in other areas. Let's discuss those further with Congressman Bong Suntay, who joins us this morning. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Congressman.
Magandang umaga, Gretchen. Good morning.
Siguro unahin na lang po muna natin yung mga pagbaha sa Quezon City over the weekend. This is, of course, the most urgent concern. I guess, una-una ho, ano po nangyari? Bakit po kaya ganun katindi yung mga pagbaha?
Well, first of all, Gretchen, talagang unprecedented yung rainfall na nangyari the other day dito sa Quezon City.
Correct.
Yung ulan na bumagsak in a 1 hour span was equivalent to 5 days of rain. Kaya naman hindi talaga kinaya ng mga drainage. Aside from the fact na talagang yung drainage system sa Quezon City, well, most of them are 60 or 70% silted na. Talagang hindi na kaya yung carrying capacity. We have to to improve the drainage system, the existing drainage system within the city.
But I do know, I'm very aware that the city of Quezon City has created a flood-controlled master plan. Ito nga po nagpe-press con si Mayor Joy about it, and also kasama yung UP Resilience Institute. Ito po ay yung mga plano dito hindi pa nai-implement, ibig sabihin?
Well, alam mo, hindi pa na-implement yan eh. In fact, that was something which I questioned during one of the budget hearing ng DPWH in Congress. Dahil sinabi ko, DPWH has been spending, or the national government has been spending billions of pesos on flood control projects, flood control programs, drainage improvement. Nung tinanong ko if they are following a master plan, well, Secretary Bonoan at that time admitted na wala silang sinusunod na drainage master plan. Sabi ko, aside from the fact na walang sinusundan na drainage master plan, walang coordination rin within the LGUs. At coordination should not be done hindi lang sa Quezon City government, because kailangan ang coordination is multi-city, dahil ang ulan o ang floodwaters na dumaraan sa Quezon City, hindi lang naman, it doesn't only stay in Quezon City. Yan dumadaan rin sa city ng Pasig at Taguig to go out sa Laguna de Bay. Dumadaan din sa San Juan at saka sa City of Manila para naman lumabas sa Manila Bay. Kaya coordination should be multi-city at hindi lang limited to the Quezon City government.
You have oversight over the flood control budget, like Congressman Puno, right? Did you bring these issues up when you were deliberating the 2025 budget?
I did. In fact, alam mo, Gretchen, I questioned the fact that kasi during the previous term, nung 2022-2025, I was not a sitting congressman, but there were around 3.8 billion on flood control programs which was allocated for the 4th District of Quezon City. And obviously, because of the continued flooding, hindi pa rin effective. Kaya nga, nung hearing namin with the DPWH, I was saying na, teka muna, kung wala tayong sinusunod na drainage master plan at lagay ng pera dyan sa flood control programs na taon-taon na lang tapos hindi natatapos, ay itigil na muna natin yan. Kailangan let's get our acts, bring our acts together, put our acts together. Let's coordinate with the Quezon City government para alam nila kung ano yung mga ginagawa natin at kailangan gawin. And at the same way, ang Quezon City rin. Dahil it cannot only be left with the national government alone. Dapat ang Quezon City rin, ang LGU should also do its part para hindi nasasayang yung pera at walang duplication ng ginagawang mga programa at proyekto. Talagang kailangan coordinated. And in fact, I sat down with Mayor Joy when I was once again elected to office. naupo ako to talk about this flood control program na dapat talagang coordinated.
Oo. Ito pong flood control master plan ni na Mayor Joy at ng UP Resilience Institute, kailan po ito nagawa? Nabuo?
Well, actually, that was commissioned by the LGU, I think a couple of years back. Pero as I mentioned, I just came back to I was just elected to office itong 2025, and the first thing I did was to sit down with Mayor Joy to talk about yung coordination between programs and projects that we will do in the district, especially when it comes to the flood control.
Oo. Ito, I know you mentioned you just came back into the 4th district, but one of those places under your jurisdiction is South Triangle, na talagang nakaranas ng matinding pagbaha this weekend. Makikita po natin sa may tabi ng ABS-CBN, sa may Mother Ignacia. Actually, pag dumadaan ho kami doon, talagang laging baha. I mean, hindi naman po siya bagong datos, no? Ano po kaya sa tingin nyo ang dapat gawin? Anong pinaka-problema po doon sa specific area po na yun? Nag-viral din po yun eh.
First of all, Gretchen, if you remember before, ang baha sa Timog was nandun sa may pagkalampas mo ng Tomas Morato. It was in front of yung Music 21 sa may Shell dati, dyan bumabaha. During my time, 2019 yan, that was the time that we started improving the drainage in that particular area. In fact, tinaas natin pati yung kalsada at naglagay tayo ng malalaking box culvert. Kaya ngayon, in front of yung Music 21, hindi na nagbabaha. Unfortunately, meron parte dyan na hindi natapos. Yun yung sa harap ng burger machine going out to Quezon Avenue, which ngayon isinama natin na I made sure na kasama yan. Kasi from Tomas Morato to yung to burger machine along Timog, malaki na yung drainage yan, box culvert nga. Ang problema, from burger machine na Quezon Avenue o palabas ng yung nagdudugtong ng drainage ng Quezon Avenue, hindi nagawa yan. So kailangan gawin. Now, ang isa pang area na nagpapaha dyan is yung Mother Ignacia going to Samar, yung kanto ng Samar, yun yung pinakita. I think the other day, water comes from EDSA, dahil mataas yung EDSA, bumababa yan papuntang Samar. And I also made sure I sat down with yung ating district engineer at saka si Dale, yung city engineer naman ng Quezon City, and we informed him na kasama yon dun sa tinutulak kong mapondohan para mapagawa. We have to put a bigger drainage dun sa lugar na yon.
Hindi po kakayanin po kaya yung mga water catchment area sa ilalim ng lupa?
Well, that's another thing. That's why, Gretchen, yung drainage na pinopropose ko are really the big ones that will also serve as a water catchment. But that's also under one of the consideration, yung maghuhukay tayo ng yung parang mga swimming pool type. Pero magandang ilagay yon sa bigger area eh. Kasi kung maghuhukay tayo along Mother Ignacia Avenue at this time, palagay ko masyadong matagal at maiinis yung mga tao sa tagal natin gagawin yan.
Ito po ay naisisiwalat na sa publiko ngayon na parang marami pa lang sa mga proyekto ng DPWH ay hindi naaayon sa plano o sa pangangailangan ng mga community. Pero I guess the question on people's minds is, where will we or when will we have some form of accountability here? Are you also hoping to contribute to the probe proposed by Congressman Puno in your district, in your city? Paano kaya tayo magkakaroon ng hustisya dito? No? Kasi kita po natin, maliliit po ang naghihirap pag tuwing may sakuna o kaya may bagyo.
Alam mo, totoo po yan. In fact, ang panawagan ko lagi is for accountability. Ako, lagi kong sinasabi sa mga tao, sa mga kapwa natin Pilipino, we should hold both our elected and appointed officials accountable for all their actions. Kailangan hinahanap natin, ano ba yung ginagawa nila? Saan ba napupunta yung proyekto? Saan dinadala yung pera ng gobyerno? And pagka gumawa silang programa, proyekto, ano yung naging resulta? We have to hold everyone accountable. I think that is something which is lacking in our country. Kaya pati yung korupsyon, alam mo, pataas ng pataas, palaki ng palaki. Nagiging brazen na yung korupsyon dahil sa atin because of lack of accountability. Lagi kong sinasabi, kailangan may makulong. Hindi pwedeng walang nakukulong eh. But because until and unless we hold both elected and appointed officials accountable for their action, mangyayari lang ng mangyayari ulit yan.
Do you think that
when it comes to yung probe, ako actually I was the first one to suggest na siguro ang investigation be done by an independent body. Wag lang yung let's not leave it sa Kongreso alone. Hindi sa wala akong tiwala sa mga tao sa Kongreso dahil madami pa namang mga congressman at mga senador natin ang matitino at gumagawa ng tama. But to avoid any notion of prejudice or biases or any cover-ups, then an independent panel should be formed by our president to look into all these allegations of corruptions and ghost projects.
May mukhang marami hong sisilip dito kung nangyari po yan, including your predecessor, who of course had oversight over the budget. Saan po napunta yun? And you're discovering now na hindi sangayon sa pangangailangan.
I believe it's just right, di ba? Kailangan managot yung kailangan managot because unless we hold people accountable, then uulit lang yan at lalakas lang ng loob. Dati-rate, lagi ko ngang sinasabi, dati-rate, yung mga gawain ganyan, tinatago pa. Pero ngayon, it's out in the open. Hindi na tinatago, hindi na dati pakurut-kurut lang. Ngayon they're getting the entire pie, not just a piece of it.
Kayo po ba ay nagkaroon din ng ganong klaseng offer katulad ni Congressman Leviste?
Well, ngayon alam mo because I was never the type to accept anything even when I was in the city council. So siguro hindi na nagkakaroon ng attempt sa akin na ma-bribe ako ng ganyan. In fact, the first thing I did, one of the first things that I did was to tell the RD and the D in my district, sabi ko, ang una sa lahat, tatanggalin natin yung mga flood control na necessary dahil yan i-account muna natin kung saan napunta yung pondo na nilaan dyan. Secondly, ayoko ng paulit-ulit na road maintenance. Sabi ko, yung mga asphalt overlay na paulit-ulit na ginagawa doon sa mga kalsada, sa mga main roads natin na hindi naman kailangan. Sabi ko hindi na dapat gawin yan at ilagay natin yung mga proyekto doon sa lugar kung saan talaga kinakailangan to at mapapakinabangan ng tao.
Is it possible to craft legislation that will raise the involvement of the local government? Over the weekend, I also remember Mayor Joy complaining about the lack of coordination from the contractors. Paano kaya po masusolusyonan yun?
Alam mo, there is coordination. If we have to strengthen any legislations that will improve coordination, I'm all for it. But when it comes to infrastructure projects, alam mo, ang alam ko kino-coordinate sa city yan because ang contractor dapat kumuha ng permit sa LGU before they proceed with any public work project to be undertaken in any particular area.
Pero hindi raw kasi yung flood control, sa akin nabasa, ay hindi naman daw mabibigyan ng building permit because it is not a building. Hindi rin siya mabibigyan ng, nakalimutan ko na may isa pang permit na hindi naman kailangan. Pero yun nga po yung inireklamo ng mga LGU officials na bakit hindi na to humihingi ng permit sa amin. Parang they just do their projects.
Well, kasi ako during my time all the projects were coordinated with the LGU. In fact, like what I said, kung totoo man na hindi nagkakaroon ng coordination ngayon, I'm willing to sit down with Mayor Joy if she needs any legislation crafted, I'm willing to
Okay.
file it in Congress and push for it.
Okay, now let's
Kasi
move on
ako-
over to... go ahead, sir, if you're not yet done.
Kasi ako, ang paniwala ko talaga, itong problema na dinaranas natin is not just a problem of Congress, it's also a problem of the LGU. That's why both the national government and the local government should work hand in hand together in trying to solve all this problem. And yung budget rin na kailangan dyan, alam mo, it's not, hindi rin maliit ang gastusin dyan para wag masayang ang pondo ng LGU at ng national government. Then programs that they undertake should really be coordinated with each other.
Okay, we look forward to that coordination. Hopefully that problem gets solved. But going to the story before this interview, the issue on illegal e-sabong, you've raised a question there. Why aren't arrests being made if they're closing down these websites? Ano po nakita niyo po doon?
Totoo, ano ba dun sa briefing na nangyari? Ang sinabi nga, ang sinasabi was there are around over 53,000 illegal online gambling sites which have proliferated. Eh sabi ko, okay, anong ginagawa nyo pagka merong illegal na sites which are being operated? So sabi nila, they try to shut it down. So sabi ko, sa dami ng sinara natin, humihingi ako ng datos. So ilan na yung kinasuhan? Well, apparently, wala silang nakakasuhan dahil mahirap raw hulihin kung sino yung nag-ooperate ng gaming site. Alam mo, like with everything in our country, sabi ko, kung walang taong makakasuhan, ang ginagawa lang natin, isasara yan, tapos nun, magbubukas lang din sila. Then, nagsasayang lang tayo ng oras. Ang pinagtataka ko lang, bakit lahat, ang ordinaryong tao, alam nila kung anong site papasukan, parang ang gobyerno lang lagi ang hindi nakakaalam kung anong site ang kailangan pasukan.
And you're referring specifically to the e-sabong websites?
Well, not only e-sabong, but there are a lot of
All the illegal
gaming sites
gambling.
which are online. In fact, I filed a House bill which seeks to prohibit online gambling. Dahil alam mo, what is frustrating, Gretchen, is that ang betting na nangyayari dito sa mga online sites, as low as 10 pesos, pwede kang pumusta. Karamihan ng pumupusta, data has been has shown that over 78% ng bettors are coming from the vulnerable sectors of our society, yung mga mahihirap na taong nagsusugal. Hindi lang yung mahihirap, pati yung kabataan, mga kabataan nagagawang pumusta. And ang gobyerno natin bigay ng ayuda. Pero yung ayuda na binibigay sa mga tao, sa mga nangangailangan, siguro big portion of it na are channeled into this online gambling kasi marami sa mga kapwa Pilipino natin ang nangangarap at nag-iisip siguro, nagdarasal na baka pagka kumusta sila sa sugal, maaaring lumaki yung perang hawak-hawak nila, but that never happens. And we all know that, gambling is addictive, and once you get into it, talagang malululong ka dyan at magkakautang-utang ka. So it's about time that we stop online gambling. Let's prohibit online gambling dahil walang idudulot yan. Ang Singapore allowed gambling, pero yung casino type na gambling, but they allowed it dahil lang to complement yung tourism industry nila. They wanted foreigners to go to Singapore and gamble. What Singapore was after was money coming from yung mga tourists, money coming from foreigners. Pero dito sa atin, dito sa online gambling, ang kinukuha natin, pera ng mga kababayan natin. Sana kung yung pera ng mayayaman yung nakukuha natin. Ang problema, karamihan ang nakukuha natin pera ng mahihirap nating kababayan.
I remember we asked that question to DICT kung bakit wala po silang nakakasuhan dito. At ang nabanggit po nila, ay marami po kasi dito sa mga website nito ay galing sa ibang bansa. Yung offshore gaming, that tayo naman po yung tinatarget. At the laws abroad, parang it's hard to, they're not as tight That's why when you pursue these perpetrators, you'd have to have country-to-country diplomatic relations. Ayun po yung isa sa mga dahilan. Ano? Pero how far are you willing to take this probe with the House Committee on Human Rights? Specifically on the case of Atong Ang, that meron pong mga nadadawit na rin po dito na mga pulis na sinasabi niya nang maaaring magkaroon ng link sa drug war ng dating Pangulo. At what were the latest updates on the search for the bodies in Taal Lake?
Well, the latest update is nakakuha raw sila ng mga buto, apparently human bones sa mga nakuha nila. But the thing is they cannot extract any DNA from the bones that they have gathered so far. Now, ngayon, the government is trying, our police force is trying to solicit the help of Japan to extract DNA from doon sa mga buto na nakuha nila. Yung akin lang kailangan kasi magtuloy-tuloy and we have to focus. Alam mo, ang attention kasi ng Pilipino, hindi lang yung mga mababatas, pero natin lahat is very short. Pagka may bagong issue na pumasok, nakakalimutan yung mga issue na which are already on hand. Itong investigasyon doon sa online, sa online sabong, and hindi lang yan, pati na yung online gaming in general, pwede naman pagsama-samahin yan para sa mag-conduct ng isang investigasyon ukol dyan. I believe that in Congress, they're trying to prepare a TRICOM to go and hold hearings with regards to yung missing sabungero, and they should continue it. Ang napigil lang yan dahil of course nung pumasok itong 20th Congress, new committee chairmen were appointed dahil na nagpalit ng mga congressmen, so nabinbin lang. But I hope that once na makumpleto yung mga committee chairmanship at saka yung mga members nito, magpatuloy na muli yung mga hearing. Not only dito ukol sa missing sa Bungero, but isama na rin natin yung online gambling.
Okay, maraming salamat sa updates doon sa hearing po ninyo at pati na rin po sa flood control sa Quezon City. Sana po makapag-propose po tayo ng mas magandang plano para sa inyong distrito at sa buong Quezon City. Okay. Thank you very much. We have 4th District Representative Bong Suntay joining us. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope you've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day and the month matter. My name is Gretchen Ho. We are One News, all sides, all the time.